You wake before dawn, the kettle hissing like a small promise, and there on the kitchen table a neat stack of envelopes seems to measure the distance between now and the life you imagine. The house is quiet except for the clock, persistent, impartial. You tell yourself you're waiting for the right sign, a raise, the economy to turn, a savings cushion that feels like a safety net. Outside the window, a sparrow hops boldly across a fence as if the moment to leap was never perfect, only necessary. In the next room, someone you love murmurs, maybe we should wait another month. It's not criticism, it's the shared language of caution. You answer, softer than you want to be, I just want to be sure. But inside, an older, smaller voice whispers something else. What if this waiting is the very thing keeping you from becoming what you want? This is the beginning of a familiar journey, the hero who believes in careful timing, who mistakes hesitation for wisdom. The law of attraction doesn't reward the absence of risk, it responds to energy. The universe listens to movement, to belief expressed through action, even when that action is imperfect. Imagine the world as a vast pond, every small choice you make is a pebble. Hurling it with doubt barely moves the surface. Hurling it with trust creates ripples that reach shores you cannot yet see. You try on different scripts, I'll start when I know more, I'll save when the market feels safe, I'll build confidence before I act. They fit like gloves, comfortable and constricting. The truth that will unsettle you and set you free is that clarity often arrives after the first step, not before it. Action begets evidence, evidence builds belief, belief expands possibility. Right now, standing at this kitchen table, you're at a threshold. The myth of perfect timing offers a quiet safety, but also a cage. In the next moments we'll meet the turning point, a small, responsible step taken from alignment, not panic, a choice to favor growth over fear. If this resonates, tap like, share what's on your heart, what are you waiting for financially right now? Stick around, there's a simple first step ahead that changes everything. The kitchen light hums low as she sorts through envelopes, one with a familiar blue logo, another with a polite reminder. Outside, the street is quiet, a late autumn hush that mirrors the small, steady tightness in her chest. She tilts a mug between her palms, watching steam fog the window. In her mind a voice repeats a promise she's been clinging to, I'll wait until things are certain. I'll wait for the perfect moment. It sounds like prudence, like care. It feels like safety. Yet when she listens closer, the same voice trembles with fear. Across the room, a worn notebook lies open, pages of plans half finished. She remembers a conversation last month. Why don't you start with a small step? Her friend had asked gently. What if it doesn't work? She had replied, the old worry surfacing. The friend's answer was simple and stubborn. What if it does? That question lingers now, soft as a whisper, hard as a choice. This is the crossroads every seeker meets, the place where intention meets inertia. Inside, the protagonist sees the myth plainly. Perfect timing is not a schedule the universe keeps, it is a story we tell ourselves to avoid risk. The law of attraction, she has learned, doesn't reward hesitation. It responds to movement that's aligned with belief. Even a modest, imperfect action, opening a savings account, scheduling a short call about freelance work, setting aside $10, sends a signal. Energy shifts. Momentum begins. The universe doesn't wait for certainty, it answers the motion you offer. She imagines the ripple, one small choice loosens fear, the next builds confidence, and confidence draws opportunities. A bank clerk's smile, a returned email, a new idea sparked from a late-night note, these are the quiet returns of action. She breathes and whispers to herself, what if I grow? The phrase lands differently, like a seed finding soil. If this resonates, tap like and tell me below, what are you waiting for financially right now? Subscribe gently to follow this journey, watch how belief and imperfect steps will change everything. Now, follow her as she reaches for the very first imperfect move that will alter the path. Morning light slides across a kitchen table scattered with envelopes, a half-drunk cup of tea cooling beside a pen. She, maybe you, sits there, palms pressed to the wood, listening to the familiar whisper, wait. Wait until the market steadies, wait until the savings reach a number that feels safe, wait until confidence arrives like a delivered package. The room smells faintly of lemon cleaner and possibility deferred. Outside, the city moves on. Inside, everything feels paused, as if the world will hand you permission to move when the perfect conditions appear. A friend calls. "Why don't you start with something small?" they ask, voice bright through the phone. She laughs, a sound that hides the tremor. "What if I fail?" she answers. The words have weight, a steady drumbeat that has kept her tethered to the same place for months, maybe years. But here, between the yellowed bills and the quiet tea, a different voice, softer, not mine but the one we've all heard when courage dislodges itself, asks a different question: what if you grow? This is where the story shifts. The law of attraction isn't a promise that the universe rewards perfect plans, it's a reflection of what we put into motion. The universe responds to aligned movement, not hesitation. A single, imperfect action, sending one email offering a skill, setting aside $5 3 days a week, pricing a small service, creates energetic momentum. It signals to the field of possibility that you are willing, that your intention meets motion. Clarity, strangely, often comes after that first step, not before it. The path lights under your feet as you walk, not while you're still waiting at the threshold. Imagine her writing a simple plan on a sticky note, the handwriting a little shaky. She calls a former client, she lists 3 sellable skills, she sets up an autosave of $10 a month. Each small choice feels responsible and brave. Fear still whispers, but each small victory stretches her confidence like a muscle. Momentum breeds opportunity, opportunity births growth, growth expands income and, more importantly, self-trust. If this nudges something awake in you, give this a quiet like and tell me in the comments, what are you waiting for financially right now? Stay with me. In the next moment she takes that imperfect step, and everything starts to bend toward possibility. The morning light finds them at the kitchen table again, a familiar scene, a steaming cup, a stack of unopened envelopes, the phone face down like a sleeping animal. They tell themselves, "I'll wait until the market calms, until bills are lower, until I feel ready." The voice is soft, rational, protective, even, but it has been protecting the same hesitation for years. I watch them breathe shallowly and count what they don't have, as if counting could summon certainty. Why not start small? I ask, not to lecture but to offer a torch where only dimness lived. They look up, startled, the way people do when they find a friend in a quiet room. "What if I fail?" They whisper. The question hangs like winter fog. "What if you grow?" I answer, and the words are simple enough to sit on the table between the bills. They laugh, a tiny, surprised sound, and the grip on fear loosens just enough for one careful movement. We walk through practical steps that honor responsibility and the law of attraction: 3 minutes to list expenses without judgment, an automatic transfer of even $5 to a savings account, a short email drafted to a past client offering a small service, a 20-minute class signed up for tonight. These are modest commitments, not magic tricks. Each one is a spoken intention, a vibration in motion. The universe is not moved by perfect plans, it responds to sincere steps taken from belief. As they act, change arrives not as thunder but as a gentle realignment. The chest unclenches. The first automated transfer posts and becomes proof that they can follow through. An old colleague replies to the email within hours, offering a small gig. Clarity follows the motion, questions narrow, priorities sharpen, the myth of waiting begins to dissolve. This is the turning ground, choosing movement over the mirage of perfect timing. It is where momentum, not certainty, becomes the teacher. If this scene resonates, if you feel that tug in your chest, leave a like, tell me below what you're waiting for financially, and consider subscribing to keep following the path. Next, we meet the moment the hero embraces alignment fully and faces the deeper resistance that still whispers to stop. You sit at the kitchen table as the morning light threads through the blinds, paper and numbers spread like a quiet accusation. I sit across from you, or not as judge, but as guide, and I say, softly, what if the perfect moment is collecting dust because you asked it to wait? You look up, the worry folded into the corners of your mouth. Around us the house hums with familiar sounds, a kettle, a neighbor's lawnmower, life continuing whether you act or not. That hum becomes the soundtrack of the waiting, safe, predictable, painfully still. We walk through a memory, the time you delayed a course because the job might change, the investment paused for when the market stabilizes, the small business idea shelved until you had a flawless plan. Each delay felt prudent. Each pause, a promise to protect. But inside, something else was shrinking, the sense that you could shape outcome by moving toward it. The law of attraction doesn't reward timetables, it responds to feeling and forward motion. I tell you this while you fold a receipt, and your fingers suddenly stop noticing the paper. So what would I do first, you ask? The answer is both humble and revolutionary. Do one small thing that aligns with who you want to become. We imagine the scene, you setting up a tiny emergency fund, $10 or $50 a week, like planting seeds in a pot on the windowsill. You call a friend for a coffee meeting to test an idea, or list an unwanted item and watch the first sale land. These actions are imperfect, sometimes awkward, but they shift your energy. Instead of asking, "What if I fail?" you practice saying, "What if I grow?" That language changes posture, softens fear, and the universe mirrors the motion. Momentum breeds opportunity, a buyer, a referral, a confidence that lets you ask for a better price or a new client. There is responsibility here, and no reckless leaps, just deliberate experiments that protect your base while expanding your reach. Track one small habit, celebrate the micro wins, and notice how clarity blooms after movement, not before it. If this landed with you, tap like quietly and tell me below, what small step will you try this week? Subscribe gently to follow the next chapter, where we turn one tiny action into a sustainable momentum plan. She stands at the kitchen window, morning light pooling on the counter where last month's bills still fanned like a small, accusing audience. The house is quiet except for the kettle's hiss, and in that hush her thoughts grow louder. What if I make the wrong move? What if I lose the little I have? A phone vibrates on the table, a friend's message, a link to a budget app, and for a moment she lets herself imagine the safety of waiting until everything is perfect. It feels safe, like a warm blanket. But the longer she watches the steam rise, the more she senses that safety is actually a gentle prison, locking time around possibility. You hear the inner voice she's learned to name. Precise timing is rare, it says, calm as a mentor. The universe answers motion, not stillness. She remembers a conversation with someone who believed in small beginnings. Start with a tiny promise to yourself, they'd said. Shift one thing, watch the momentum do the rest. The image of a single domino tipping appears, modest, inevitable once nudged. She wipes her hands on her apron and, with a breath that tastes like both fear and courage, opens her laptop. The next hour is modest but decisive. She writes one clear intention on a sticky note, save $50 a month, research one trustworthy advisor, transfer a small automatic amount the day after payday. She sets a calendar reminder to spend 15 minutes each Sunday reviewing progress. Not glamorous, not perfect, but aligned. Each action, however humble, feels like a key turning in a lock. As she clicks confirm on the auto transfer, the tightness in her chest loosens. It isn't that everything is solved, it's that she has moved from waiting into creation. A neighbor knocks and asks, "Did you finally call about that investment?" She smiles, replies, "I didn't wait for perfect, I made a plan." The neighbor raises an eyebrow and says, almost laughing, "What if it fails?" She answers without hesitation, "Then I'll learn." "What if I grow?" It's a small exchange, but the words echo differently now, less judgment, more possibility. This is the turning point, understanding that clarity often follows motion. Imperfect action aligned with belief sends an energetic signal that invites opportunity, leads, confidence, incremental income. If this moment resonates with you, a simple like helps others find it, and I'd love to know, what are you waiting for financially right now? Tomorrow we follow her as that first imperfect step begins to ripple outward, bringing unexpected openings she never imagined. You sit at the kitchen table again, late afternoon light slicing across a pile of bills and a half-drunk cup of coffee. The room smells like paper and possibility, and your inner voice, soft, careful, keeps saying, "Not yet." Wait until the market stabilizes, until the bonus arrives, until you feel sure. Across the table, a different voice, quieter but steadier, leans forward and asks, "What if the perfect moment is the one you create?" Imagine that exchange as a scene. The hero, wearing years of cautious choices, realizes the enemy has been not risk, but delay dressed as prudence. In the hum of the house, the lesson of the universe reveals itself. Momentum is born from movement, not from the immaculate alignment of all conditions. The law of attraction answers to the frequency of your actions, the energy you put behind them. When you make a small, intentional step, call to negotiate a bill, set up an automatic $20 transfer to a savings account, publish one listing for an unused skill, you vibrate differently. The world responds. Opportunities that felt opaque begin to shimmer into view because you are no longer waiting for life to hand you clarity, you are offering it a direction. You don't have to leap blindly. Responsible action means starting where you are. Track one expense this week, ask one question about refinancing, commit to learning for 15 minutes a day. Each tiny victory plants a seed of confidence. Replace the question, "What if I fail?" with a new inquiry, "What if I grow?" Let that curiosity pull you forward. Picture the relief that arrives after the first call you feared, after the first $20 saved. It's not magic in isolation, it's energetic alignment meeting practical habit, and the combination creates irresistible momentum. Here the conversation between fear and faith soften. The hero stands and moves, no fanfare, just a steady step into alignment. That step shifts the story. Tell me, right now, what are you waiting for financially? Write it below, I read every reply. If you want, subscribe and come with me here next. We'll practice a simple, safe action you can take today to start that momentum. The kitchen light had gone soft when she finally sat down, bills in a neat stack, a laptop glow that felt more like a mirror than a tool. Outside, the street was quiet, inside, a low hum of worry. He watched her for a moment, the mentor who had walked alongside her through uncertainty, and simply said, "What's the smallest next step you can take that feels true to you?" It wasn't a plan, not yet. It was an invitation to move. She glanced at the papers, then at a photograph of a younger self smiling with a sense of possibility. "What if I choose wrong?" she asked, voice thin with a lifetime of practiced caution. He leaned back, the chair creaking like an old lesson. "Then you course correct." The universe responds to movement, aligned, sincere movement. Not a waiting for a flawless map. The room breathed as if relieved to have permission to shift. She closed the browser with interest rates and began instead with a simple spreadsheet, one row, one column, save $25 this week. It was almost laughable, then powerful. That tiny act reoriented her energy. The law of attraction, he reminded her, is less about perfect timing and more about the signal you send when you act from belief. Even a modest deposit, a polite call to renegotiate a bill, a short online course taken after dinner, each one is a message to the universe and to her own nervous system, "I am moving toward prosperity." They practiced aloud. "I will try one small thing," she said. "I will automate a tiny transfer, ask a colleague about freelance work, list one item I no longer use." They mapped responsible steps, build an emergency cushion, set up automatic savings, start a micro-investment account, diversify gently, and track wins in a gratitude journal. No reckless gambles, just consistent, aligned choices that create momentum. With each minor success, her posture changed, the shoulders that had carried doubt lowered. Opportunity began to appear like footsteps behind her, small leads, a supportive message, a neighbor's recommendation. She realized clarity often follows action, not the other way around. If this resonates, give it a like and tell me, what are you waiting for financially right now? Keep that answer close. In the next moment, she would face resistance she hadn't expected, an old story that threatens to pull her back, and she would need to decide whether to follow it or to keep moving forward. She wakes before the house wakes, a soft light through the curtains, the low hum of the neighborhood, a quiet cup of coffee steaming in her hands. The old script in her mind still murmurs about perfect timing, wait for the market to turn, wait until the kids are fully grown, wait until the numbers add up exactly. Today, though, there is a different voice. It is small and steady, the one that learned from every small victory, the savings jar that became a buffer, the single call that opened a door, the timid listing that found a buyer. She breathes and writes 3 tiny actions on a napkin, one call, one appointment, one small deposit. Each item is ordinary. Each item is a movement aligned with a belief that she can grow. In the kitchen, she says aloud, almost like practice, "What if I grow?" Her partner looks up from the paper, surprised at the change in tone, and offers a quiet smile. "Do it," he says, not loud but sure. That permission, that witness, is part of the momentum. She schedules a 15-minute call with a financial advisor, sets a $25 automatic transfer to a savings account, and posts a simple service offer in a local group, modest, honest, ready. Nothing is perfect, everything is moving. Each step sends a different frequency into her life, curiosity instead of dread, possibility instead of paralysis. The law of attraction isn't a magic deadline, it's responsive to motion. The universe answers when you move from fear into intentional action. She feels the shift as a lightness in her chest, a loosened jaw, the way her shoulders drop when she stops holding every detail hostage. Clarity begins to arrive not as certainty beforehand but as feedback afterward, an encouraging email, a polite "let's talk" reply, a line of unexpected advice from a friend. These signs aren't guarantees, but they are evidence that momentum invites opportunity. This is responsible, cautious courage, small, repeatable steps that build competence rather than reckless leaps. Replace "what if I fail" with a softer question, "what if I grow?" If this landed for you, tap like, and tell me below, what are you waiting for financially right now? Stay with me for the next part of this journey, where momentum turns into results and the path forward becomes clearer. The sun has just eased itself through the kitchen blinds, a warm stripe of light crosses the table where our hero sits, hands wrapped around a mug gone lukewarm. Paper envelopes lie like small islands of worry, bills, notices, a faded bank statement, but the air is different now. There is a looseness in their shoulders that wasn't there at the beginning of this journey. A voice, softer than panic, asks, "What if I grow?" and for the first time it sounds like an answer instead of a threat. You remember the scene, the quiet ritual of waiting for the perfect alignment, more savings, a steady job offer, an economy that smiles. We walked through the thought prisons together and found that perfect was not a map but a mirage. The real map was movement. The universe doesn't reward hesitation, it responds to intention expressed through action. So our hero did something small, almost trivial. They called the credit counselor, opened a tiny savings account with a transfer so small it felt symbolic, reached out to an old contact with a simple message, "Would you be open to a quick chat?" Each small, honest step shifted the energy. Momentum accumulated like morning light filling a room. There was fear of making a mistake, of exposing vulnerabilities. There were nights when the inner voice hissed, "Wait. Not yet." But each time they acted from belief rather than certainty, the world answered. A call returned. A neighbor suggested a freelance gig. A habit of checking expenses became an exercise in self-respect. The law of attraction, here, is not magic that ignores responsibility, it is the elegant physics of aligned movement. Belief plus disciplined action equals momentum. That momentum creates opportunities, opportunities feed growth, growth expands income and confidence. If this felt like a nudge, take it now. Choose one small, responsible financial step today, one phone call, one automatic transfer, 1 minute of planning. If it helps, whisper the new question that changed everything for our hero, "What if I grow?" If this story landed for you, leave a comment below. What are you waiting for financially right now? If you want more practical, gentle steps to keep building that momentum, like this video and subscribe so we can keep walking this path together.